Omnisport Breakfast.
Moving over to tennis. Novak Djokovic has claimed he was poisoned by food that contained lead while he was staying in a hotel that served as a detention facility in Melbourne 3 years ago. Now, the incident occurred while Djokovic, who will be coached in the Australian Open next week by Andy Murray, was being detained before he was deported for breaching Australia's COVID rules. And one of the reasons he did, because he refused to take a vaccination. And this is what he spoke to the BBC about in 2022, about why he didn't take vaccinations.
Have you received any vaccination against COVID?
I have not.
Why?
I understand that and support fully the freedom to choose, whether you want to get vaccinated or not. And I have not spoken about this before, and I have not disclosed my medical record and my vaccination status because I had the right to keep that private and discreet. But as I see, there's a lot of wrong conclusions and assumptions out there. I think it's important to speak up about that and justify certain things, right? So I was never against vaccination. I understand that globally everyone is trying to put a big effort into handling this virus and seeing hopefully an end soon to this virus. And vaccination is probably the biggest effort that was made. Probably half of the planet was vaccinated. And I fully respect that. But I've always represented and always supported the freedom to choose what you put into your body.
Yeah, he was speaking to GQ magazine for the interview about when he, about talking about when he was poisoned, which has been sort of poo-pooed by experts in Australia who claim there's not a chance he was poisoned. He said he fell ill when he returned to Serbia after he'd been deported on grounds of health and good order. He had toxicology tests that revealed high levels of lead and mercury in his body. He does, however, despite not taking vaccinations, believe in a thing called a healing disc.
Kind of hard to explain this one. It's energetic disc, creates an electromagnetic field around it, and kind of secret is in this pattern. And so when you place it on a certain part of your body, place this part, for example, if you have stomach issues, which I do have often when I'm nervous, stressed before the match, or indigestion issues starts creating heat, so then it starts enhancing the metabolic functions or reduces inflammation in certain part of the body. A doctor that I know in Serbia, who is also an engineer, he created this disc for me, and I have a bunch of those, and I do carry it everywhere when I fly in the plane. I put it on head or somewhere. I shouldn't be having it on the body parts for too long, so like 20 to 30 minutes. It does its work.
He's got a new coach in Andy Murray, and while Andy Murray said he would be okay with receiving any angry outbursts of emotion or any venting on court from Djokovic, the new coaching regime would be okay at the Australian Open. So he says, I'm not one of those people that would maybe hopefully understand that side of things. I know it's not easy out there and it's stressful, and at times he's going to want to vent towards his team in his box, provided that he's giving his best effort and trying as hard as he can. Absolutely fine with him expressing himself the way he wants.
Yeah, played here a few times. Could never quite get over the line, unfortunately. This man was single-handedly responsible for that, so I'm now here to try and sabotage his chances of winning another one.
He's the ball. I like this. Could be onto something here.
Moving over to rugby, the former Scotland Rugby Union captain Stuart Hogg will be supervised for a year as an alternative to jail after he admitted abusing his estranged wife over the course of 5 years. He pleaded guilty to a single charge of domestic abuse of his ex-partner Gillian Hogg. When he appeared at the Selkirk Sheriff Court on the 4th of November last year, he admitted shouting, swearing, tracking her movements and sending messages which were alarming and distressing in nature. Sheriff Peter Patterson sentenced Hogg to a community payback order with 1 year of supervision. And that basically means he has to do community service. He was sentenced on Thursday. He also imposed another non-harassment order barring him from approaching or contacting his wife for 5 years. The alternative sentence is an alternative to actually for custody. Sky News got into this. Sky News reporter Connor Giles tried to actually get some comment from from Stuart Hogg as he walked out of court, but he wasn't talking to any people.
Stuart Hogg, you are a convicted domestic abuser. Do you have any regret for your behaviour, Mr. Hogg? Mr. Hogg, do you have any regret for the way you behaved? Do you think you got away with this because you were a rugby star? Do you have any regret for apology? That's very true. This is a dramatic fall from grace for the one-time poster boy of Scottish rugby, the now shamed former Scotland Rugby Union captain and man who now plays for a French side. And that clearly was his public profile, but it was his private life that led him to this court, that led him to the diminished character that he now is. A man who admitted domestic abuse against his now former wife Gillian Hogg, and an insight into the behaviour that he carried out over a period of a number of years, from 2019 right the way up until 2024. The court hearing that he was shouting, swearing in an aggressive manner, berating his wife at the time for, quote, not being fun. He was tracking her movements on an app. He was sending her a barrage of 200 messages in the space of just a couple of hours, despite being told to stay away, putting her into a state of fear and alarm. Today, he led himself into this court building here in the Scottish borders to be sentenced, and I can tell you he avoided jail in what was just a matter of minutes during the sentencing hearing. He will have to do what's known as a community payback order, essentially community service, for a period of 1 year. And also he has been slapped with a non-harassment order for half a decade as well. He will have to stay well clear of his wife for that period of time. The question now is, now that the court proceedings are essentially out of the way, this is a man, a sports star, a former sports star, who was given one of the most top honours in the UK. He was awarded an MBE for his services to sport in recent years. Will there now be questions over whether that should be stripped at a time now as he is a convicted domestic abuser?
Incredible, just absolutely disgusting. And even more disgusting, the Times newspaper in London reporting this morning, police have sent a file to prosecutors to decide whether to charge a Premier League footballer who's been accused of rape and sexual offences against 3 women. The player who has continued to play for his club since he was initially arrested on July 2022, cannot be named. He is understood to have basically denied any wrongdoing. After a lengthy investigation, the police have now passed the file to the Crown Prosecution Service, the CPS, to make a decision. A BBC investigation last year reported that 7 out of 20 Premier League clubs have had players or executives investigated by the police for alleged sexual offences since 2020. The gender violence, the gender apartheid, we're going to get into it a little bit later. And finally, the Sowetan have reported that PSL club Royal AM, the Spaza Shop club, are pinning its hopes against possible liquidation on player and part owner Andile Mpisane. Sources have asserted that Mpisane, who's the son of the royal part owner and troubled business person Sean Mamakezi, is set to be used as a shield in a last-ditch attempt to restore a semblance of normality at the club. Mpisane is actually the official chair. The club's argument, according to the source, is that Andile is not the subject of any tax investigation, so the club should be immune from the dispute SARS has had with Makezi. It sounds like a Stalingrad type defense. I don't think they would do it. Coming up after the break, we're going to do a deep dive into Afghanistan and why South Africa shouldn't play against them.
Omnisport Breakfast.